on down and see how this game shakes out. Take a look at these opening hands and get the ball rolling.
Let's get the ball rolling here, huh? I'll see myself out, Ailey.
I'll give you a bit of to start off the day.
Really, really powerful hand here from Alexander Hayne. Just soaring Thought Thieves for days here is a really strong start. I mean, this is a clock that adds up extremely fast. And, you know, Tóth does have one of the best answers to it in the form of Shadow's Verdict, but that still has to resolve later down the line. And all these Soaring Thought Thieves putting cards into Tóth's graveyard enables that drawn in the lock.
Yeah, just having them in multiples is going to be very, very difficult to deal with indeed here for Jakub Tóth. But as you mentioned, he does have that Shadow's Verdict. Just needs to get to 5 mana and live until then, and hopefully find a few other ways to interact. There is Heartless Act in hand that we can see, as well as Behold the Multiverse to dig through the library and find a few extra things to help him out. Now, one thing that might be to the detriment of Alexander Hayne right now is he's got, you know, just normal removal spells, where this deck doesn't really play many creatures. I think there's 3 maybe, if you count Valky as a creature. Normally you want to play him as the Planeswalker side of things, so, you know, potentially drawing into a few dead cards here, more so than what Tóth would be.
Yeah, the Bloodchief's Thirst, what I'm seeing at best, is going to be like if an Emergent Ultimatum actually resolves, you may be able to give them, you know, like a Vorinclex, and something else, and then just kill the Vorinclex during your turn if it's not that detrimental. But that is a very kind of silver lining case. For the most part, those type of cards are going to be sided out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one Soaring Thought Thief dealt with. Here comes number 3, joining its friend on the battlefield. And in we go for an attack, and let's get to milling. See what else we can get off the top of the library here. A land and extinction event, and 2 more forests. But that is enough to get the buff across the board there for the Soaring Thought Thieves, now attacking in as 3/3s.
Yeah, and I think the one thing for Tóth that is, you know, the best case scenario for him is Alexander Hayne is not repping those really fancy hats that he has in the previous, you know, that's lucky for Tóth because those hats are nice.
Hat power is a thing in Magic. You all know Gabnasif, right?
Yes, he branded off the famous yellow hat.
Oh, yes. Here can come the Soaring Thought Thieves once again, milling a couple more cards. There goes a Heartless Act, a land, another Shadow's Verdict, and a Wolf Willow Haven into the bin. So a few less tools in Jakub Tóth's toolbox now, as he is down to 10.
Yep, down to 10. They are getting the boost here. That Merfolk Windrobber would only be for 9, so we don't have lethal quite yet, but this is a 2-turn clock. Where Tóth is gonna have to do something here, and we see that Shadow's Verdict hanging out in the top left corner, and maybe if Alexander Hayne got a little aggressive and countered this, it would be a nice opportune moment to cast that, but Hayne wasn't born yesterday. He's not gonna fall for that.
Oh, heck no. You never, don't counter the draw. Counter what they play off what they draw.
Exactly.
So, what if he does find, we haven't seen the 4th Soaring Thought Thief, right? If he were to find that, that would be lethal, but there's a Mystical Dispute. Now, seeing that it's not lethal right now, do you think Jakub holds on, knowing that there's probably a Drown in the Lock in hand?
Yeah, I think what this is going to be, or at least what I would be considering, would be like an upkeep stop and Heartless Act with Mystical Dispute backup, you know, to try to play around that, but decides to just jam here. But this isn't so bad for a couple reasons, because we do have that Alrund's Epiphany, that is foretold. Next turn, Tóth can do that, and then actually cast a second Alrund's Epiphany. He straight up loses to a counter spell, but you know, at some of these points in these games against rogues, when you're playing the Yorion tap-out deck, you just have to go for it and just keep jamming and hopefully eventually resolve something that is just unbelievable.
Yeah, Merfolk Windrobber going to get sacrificed here. Finds a Drown in the Lock, finds exactly what he needed to make sure that Jakub Tóth does not get another turn. So an excellent draw off of that Merfolk Windrobber. Did its duty, got the job done with the damage. Down to 1, and now with a counterspell in hand, Jakub Tóth is not going to be resolving anything significant this turn.
And somewhere Riley Knight is rolling his eyes because they do indeed always have the Drown in the Loch. So impressive stuff.
These 2-mana spells, you gotta hate them. And here we're going to see Fabled Passage cracked. Now, the only thing that would bite Alexander is if there weren't basic lands in the deck, but we do see them there, so everything is fine. Everything is good. Let's counter this, and let's go to game number 2.
Yeah, right away I had a mini heart attack that Drown in the Loch was not highlighted there, but that's because we had the Fabled Passage not cracked yet. So nice draw from Alexander Hayne when he had to have it. When he absolutely had to have it. That was going to start to snowball out of control because 1 Alrund's Epiphany was going to turn into 2, and then let's say Toth top decked one of those Emergent Ultimatums.
Oof.
We're out of there. That's game.
Oh, yeah.
The 4 flyers were already going to be enough where it was going to be tough for Hayne, but not unwinnable. But, adding another powerful spell onto it would have really changed the dynamics of that game.
Let's take a look at the sideboard decisions here, bringing in some Duress, Eldgogoroth, Eliminate, Polukranos, and Shark Typhoons. Try and counter those sharks there, friend. Taking out some counter spells, and Alexander Hayne's side of things, again, many more counter spells coming in, taking out all the removal that doesn't hit any of the non-existent creatures in Jakub's deck.
Wow. I'm pretty shocked about that, to be honest. Okay, I'm shocked because that's not accurate. Those cards are not in Toth's deck that are coming out. I was like, I wouldn't want to be taking out Mystical Disputes against Dimir Rogue. So it looks like we have, yeah.
All right.
Gotcha. Yeah, but otherwise, Shark Typhoon, more spot removal that you can play in response to a Soaring Thought Thief coming into play, or not in response when it hits the battlefield. You really want to be doing that. And Duress to clear away, let's say you hit 6 mana and you had a Shadow's Verdict plus Duress. Mm-hmm. You just kind of win the game there by being able to take that Drown in the Loch first.
So a pretty good looking hand here for both players. Again, a similar start with 2 Soaring Thought Thief for Alexander Hayne. On the other side, we do see that Duress, as well as a few of the sideboard cards, Eldgogoroth being a pretty big creature to deal with later on down the line, as well as some card draw there for Jakub Tóth.
And I wanted to take this moment to put out a little fun fact from Alexander Hayne from his profile. Alexander Hayne, on his way to PT Avicen Restored in Barcelona, which he won, he took a cruise there, and on the cruise, he won a bottle of champagne and decided to, quote-unquote, save it until after he won the Pro Tour, and then proceeded to have a miracle happen with his Miracle deck and win the Pro Tour. What a cool story right there.
And then was serenaded by his friends and teammates with Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen.
Yes.
Poetry.
Yes. That is poetry in motion right there. That is just such a cool story to me.
It's always nice when you call your one-shots, be like, yeah, I'll save this for later. I'll save it for when I win. And then you actually win. It's like, I'll take that.
Yeah, it's like, Monty calling these predictions a little early and then just swinging and a miss over and over, so...
All right, both players just getting their lands down on the battlefield, passing the turn back happily, likely to see a Soaring Thought Thief flashed in on the end step here. Behold, the Multiverse was sent to the Foretell Zone, as we're now going to take a look in the hand here of Alexander Hayne, and unable to do anything about it except see what it is that Jakub Tóth is going to take with his Duress into the story, or didn't say please.
Yeah, pretty interesting decision there. It's if you want to force through a spell in the next few turns, you would probably take Didn't Say Please. Or if you're trying to plan for the long game, you take Into the Story, because just on rate, it's such a very powerful card. And if Jakub Tóth cannot find one of these Polucranoses, you just cannot control your battlefield without things like Cling to Dust and without things like Glimpse of Freedom that some of these lists were playing in the past.
Yeah, opts to go for the Into the Story. We know how powerful that card can be because of how quickly these rogues fill up your graveyard, reducing the cost of Into the Story, and then refilling the hand. It's talk about backbreaking moments in a game. Like, that is one of them as soon as Into the Story resolves.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal here. I want to put some attention to Behold the Multiverse. I think this is a little bit of new technology that's been coming out in the last week or so to really mitigate some of this clunkiness that these Sultai decks tend to have. Not only can you play something on 2 if you don't, let's say, want to Heartless Act a creature or something like that, but then also having something to do on 3, and it lines up pretty well with all the duresses that Tóth has been playing. So if you just foretell this on 2, play it on turn 3, and then get a duress or a mystical dispute, it ends up curving out your deck quite nicely in a otherwise pretty clunky deck.
Yep. Finds Polykranos and Shadow's Verdict off the top of the library, so he'll be pretty happy with that. Passes the turn back to Alexander Hayne, and now this is an interesting decision. We can get our battlefield established here, potentially playing into a Shadow's Verdict, or be a little bit more on the defensive and hold up this didn't say please for a potential turn 4 threat like a Polykranos.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's like the only threat that is, pretty scary at the time. So, I kind of like jamming as well. And the one thing I wouldn't really expect from my Sultai control player, it's not completely out of the realm of possibilities, but leaving an Extinction Event, it's not the most commonly left in card against rogues, but it looks pretty strong right now as an option to just clean up these Soaring Thought Thieves.
Oh, yeah. Bang. Soaring Thought Thief is really it's kind of like the powerhouse of this deck if you think about it, just the buff that they're able to give in multiples. Granted, they're all equally annoying, these rogues, but probably not as annoying as the crabs. True.
Yep. That's definitely the most annoying creature, but man, all of them do culminate into, sorry for all you rogues players out there, probably the most annoying deck to play against. You can tell I'm not a rogues player here because this deck is just far too big brain for me. It's a really tough one to play.
It is at that. Firing off this pathway, and an Elder Gargaroth lands on the battlefield unanswered, and is going to prove to be a rather pain in the butt here for Alexander Hayne to deal with.
Yeah, this is going to be an Alexander Payne for sure. I do not know how this deck is really going to do that if you don't top deck have like a Heartless Act or something. Who knows how many he really even left in?
I don't think he left any in.
Yeah, he only has one in the list and access to 3 Blood Chief's Thirsts in general, so there's not many ways to deal with this. And, the hidden reach ability on Elder Gargaroth is just shutting down a lot of avenues here. You just have to hope to block with Thieves' Guild Enforcer. But I think the Shadow's Verdict is going to... Oh, no, we don't have double black. Oh, no.
Not yet. Oof. So the one thing that is quite nice, if there's no double black here, let's see, is it? Oh, that's tapped. It's tapped.
It's always the Temple of Tilt when you need that mana. Always the Temple of Tilt.
One nice thing that Alexander Hayne's got set up here is this loop with Merfolk Windrobber, who's not attacking at all because there's a big Elder Gargaroth in the way. It's being able to sacrifice a draw card and then replay it with Luris, triggering the Thieves Guild Enforcer, and just, it's a slow mill. It's not going to win the game by any means, but it also helps dig through the library to get a few more answers to hopefully deal with this Elder Gargaroth.
Yeah, card advantage on that scale, even if it's just 1 extra card a turn, it is just very, very powerful.
Yeah, hopefully find it into the story or something similar. Ooh, Polykranos. You thought 1/6/6 was bad. How about 2?
How about one that can just start killing creatures here? Tóth is able to fight twice with that powerful 6-drop and take out Luris. And that's a big draw. That's a very big draw. Nice. We see from Tóth right now that there's a duress on top, but you can't really duress the top of the deck. So this Into the Story is going to be kind of exactly what Alexander Hayne needs to get back into this.
Yep. So interesting that the Thieves Guild Enforcer's swinging on in here. Polykranos can block it and not die. Would take the 3 damage, though. But, I was curious to see if he'd go for that. Chooses to. There goes Thieves Guild Enforcer, and it's going to be replayed.
Yeah, I'm curious, or I'm kind of surprised to even see a block, right? Like, if you just take that, then Elder Gargaroth gets to attack again, and you can draw a card, you can put a 3/3 into play or something. So I think I really would have liked just taking 3. You're at 18. What's going to 15? Like, use your life total as a resource there. Kind of a cute interaction there. With Polykranos and Thieves Guild Enforcer, it has Death Touch, but with the way it's worded where you prevent damage and remove counters, it prevents the Death Touch from actually killing the powerful creature, which I bet Toth probably wanted it dead to be able to escape it. Yeah, I didn't love that block.
Now, how important is it to deal with Lurrus in this situation?
I think it's very important because we see, if there wasn't a block there, we would have saw the interaction between Windrobber and Lurrus to get that extra value to draw a card, and you just cannot let that go every single turn. It's too much of a detriment. So I think it is very important.
So just passing the turn back, nothing added to the board, no Shadow's Verdict fired off. Knowing that the Didn't Say Please is in Alexander Hayne's hand, he's going to have to find something else to get that counterspell out of hand for, or find a counterspell of his own. So we're going to see Alexander Hayne sacrifice the Merfolk Windrobber, draw yet another card here. And will we see, in response, Lurrus taken out?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking here. I like the patience from Toth because with that Merfolk Windrobber's ability that has to, go on the stack, you have the ability to kill it then before you can bring it back and get that value. So that was a pretty nice patient play from Toth.
Yeah. And one thing that Alexander Hayne does also have to his advantage is Agdim's Awakening, which can bring back Lurrus a little later on. But first things first, we have to survive through the next few turns here. We see Alrund's Epiphany. We've got Shadow's Verdict. We've got Polychronos able to escape and eat all those cards in the graveyard, shutting off most of these rogues, depending on how many cards are in the bin once he's done so.
Yeah, I love that we're getting into the mode that is just my favorite for commentators, Ailey, is just guessing how many cards are in graveyard. It's a very tough thing right here that, wouldn't even be made easier by in real life tournaments. It would still be a challenge with these rogue decks because, it really matters. Like with how many cards you're escaping to cast Polychronos here, It really dictates if you have to play into the story now or if you can wait. Maybe you could Didn't Say Please the creature and then into the story. It all depends on the exact number of cards in the graveyard.
Yeah. Because, you certainly don't want to lose the discount there, being able to double spell, having Into the Story and Didn't Say Please available to you, as we're now going to see Polychronos perhaps coming on out. First things first, let's get a land down here for Jakub Tóth, who does also have a Mystical Dispute in hand now, so that could be quite important.
Definitely.
But Polychronos chowing on 6 cards, still enough to keep Into the Story active.
Okay, yep, Chad is thankfully pointing out to us that there were 16 cards in graveyard, so that
good job,
leaves,
Chad.
yes, thank you, Chad. Keep it up. We'll give you that raise you always wanted.
Oh, yes. And here's an interesting decision with Mystical Dispute or Didn't Say Please. Opts to go for that, as we do know Mystical Dispute gets worse the longer the game goes. But that does turn on the other Mystical Dispute. Is this worth fighting over? Jakub Tóth says yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a large creature here. And ooh, that was a nice one. And up until this, Alexander Hayne did not have an answer to this. So impressive stuff.
Magic is easy. Just draw what you need.
Exactly. Yeah. Once again, Drown in the Loch is always on top when you need it for a Rogues player. That's what it feels like when I'm playing against him, at least.
It's like Gandalf. It's neither early nor late. It's always on time.
Oh, nice. That was a good one.
Oh, look, there's a backup, too. Oh, look, your 2 creatures are now going to die.
Holy cow. Yeah, that is absolutely brutal. If we had enough to double Drown in the Loch plus Didn't Say Please, this is just a no-brainer, right? But you do have to be wary of Emergent Ultimatum here. So I wouldn't be too shocked if we don't get or if we don't stay a little patient here and just block if we have to this Elder Gargaroth.
I don't think this Elder Gargaroth's going to be attacking, though. It's just hanging out. It's deterring any attacks. It's keeping the life total high. It's a Yorion deck, so they've got enough cards to sit through your mills and things.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is like normally 2-for-1ing your opponent is pretty sweet, right? Like you have a Gargaroth, draw a card, trade for a card. That's usually a good exchange. That's what you want to be doing in Magic, limited, standard, modern, pioneer, whatever. That is like exactly what you want. But when you're 2-for-1ing with your 5-drop to a 1-drop, it is not as valuable, and you're definitely trading down in this scenario.
Oh yes, indeed. All right. We're going for Polykranos yet again. Recursive threat. So long as you keep putting cards in my bin. And here we're going to see that didn't say, please, fire it off. No thank you. Have some more cards in that bin.
Yeah, now we're getting close to the spot that you were talking about, Ailey, is just Agadeem's Awakening to bring back, 2, maybe 3 creatures here and really pull ahead. Here pretty shortly.
Ooh, double crab. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Double crab and fabled passage. Uh-oh. Oh, noes.
And here goes 12 cards. Luckily for Tóth, this is a Yorion deck, so you got a little extra work to do.
You got some padding, but, I mean, this is still a bit of a yikes.
Yeah, this is brutal. This is really brutal.
And now in Jakub Tóth's position, you're like, ugh. Okay, what do we do here? We can try and draw out any other counterspells with Auron's Epiphany or with Polykranos, but I really, really, really need this Shadow's Verdict to resolve to stop this mill train from going.
Yeah, so that's what Tóth is really after. Right now, a Shadow's Verdict would flip this game upside down and really change the dynamic, because then all of a sudden that Agadeem's Awakening is just a swamp. Just an expensive swamp, and then, everything's gone from Hayne as far as the board, and then you just Gargaroth on through. So that's what we're looking for from Tóth, is how on earth can I either bait out a counterspell first, or top deck, a negate or a duress to be able to push it through.
Yeah. Polykranos can deal with these creatures. It resolves here. It does have 3 mana available, so it can start slapping a few things. Probably going to see a few crabs, getting knocked about, but we'll see which target he decides to go for first and foremost. There's also the option to kill the Thieves Guild Enforcer and then start attacking with the Gargaroth, making 3/3s and just swarm the board that way. The one thing that the mill deck does really well is it accelerates your timer. It's like, okay, you have this many cards before you die, before you deck out. So what are you going to do?
Yep, 100%. It is not your normal clock that you're fighting up against this rogue deck. It's a really different way to have to play around and keep yourself alive. And man, this card is just going to be unbelievable right now. Who needs Cling to Dust and Glimpse when you can just keep flashing back this powerful creature? Unreal.
Polykranos is a good Hydra. Here comes a second Thieves Guild Enforcer, milling a couple more cards into the bin. Drown on the Lock still available, as well as Agadeem's Awakening. So we could see a really, really powerful turn here where we get every single rogue back from the graveyard, triggering these Thieves Guild Enforcers.
Yep. And the one thing we're missing there?
Yeah, we're missing the Soaring Thought Thieves.
And that was because of that extinction event that got 2 of them really early. So now it really comes down to just how many cards we got in library there. Let's see, someone scroll over that for us, please. I don't think they can hear us 10 minutes in the past, but it's got to be getting close. This is just...
Oh, my goodness me.
Crazy.
There you go. 10 cards left. Oh. Wow. And we still leave the mana up. What a great play there from Alexander Hayne, leaving the mana up for Drown the Lock, saying to Jakub Tóth, all right, it's your go. How are you going to stop this?
Yeah, this one's going to be pretty tricky. This one is going to be pretty tricky. This might just be a clean 2-0 from Alexander Hayne. And honestly, this is kind of how I expected this matchup to go. One thing we really haven't seen from Tóth is, is he still playing our Emergent Ultimatums? We just haven't seen them at all so far here. And that is the spell that gets you over the top. Now, granted, Alexander Hayne has basically countered everything. But still have not seen the most powerful card from Jakub Tóth.
So Eliminate was drawn off the top of the library, can deal with 1 threat here, does also have mana, I think, available just with the 4, so can't eliminate and fight something. But what do you take out here? I mean, Ugh.
Yeah, I just don't know here. It doesn't matter too much because you get to attack with these wind robbers, sacrifice them. I mean, I guess you have to start by taking out Luris because you just get back whatever gets killed.
Yep.
So I think that's step one is kill Luris and then something else. And that something else is still pretty tricky to be determined because the Merfolk Wind Robbers are that guaranteed 1 mil. The Thieves Guild Enforcers are, milling 2 if you top deck a rogue, and the crab is 3 if you top deck a land. So you're playing around a completely different things that's basically at a random number. More than likely land is probably the highest percentage, so maybe you have to start with crab. But I think that's what I would do. I would take out Luris and crab and just hope that they brick and just actually draw lands.
Yeah. Now's the time to do it. Jacob, got to get rid of Luris off this battlefield. He's highlighting it. So it looks like the little kitty cat is going to get taken care of here one way or another. As Polykranos instead decides to fight the Thieves Guild Enforcer, but does have enough mana left up there. So Eliminate can take care of 2 birds in 1 turn.
Yeah, ooh. Probably just didn't matter what Tóth targeted with that top deck. Alexander Hayne is going to find the world here.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that. A nope, and a little side of nope.
Yep. 1 extra side of nope, please. We get to clear away this Elder Gargaroth so we can get 1 more mill in with the Merfolk Wind Robber. And then from there, we have to, for Tóth, we need to draw like a duress or a negate to push through this Alrund's Epiphany and hope that the combination of fighting some creatures as well as taking another turn is going to be enough to just win the turn or win the game here. But with Disdainful Stroke as well, it's just going to be so hard to push through 2 spells. So that was such an insane set of cards from Alexander Hayne.
Oh, yes. Into the story, just proving why it is almost an auto-include in all rogues decks here. Oh, Cultivate off the top of the library. That's kind of just like insult to injury. Pretty sure half the lands are in exile or in the graveyard at this point.
And, that is some of the real costs from these Sultai ramp decks. They basically are ramp. We're labeling them Sultai control, but you are still trying to ramp. And the big problems with that is late game, you draw your ramp spells or you draw a ton of lands late game because you have to play a lot of them because you're playing, 5, 6, 7 mana spells. So it does get slightly awkward and leads to some clunkiness from these Sultai decks.
Yep. Jakub Tóth resorting to swing all Sweet Chariot and see if he can take this home as Polykranos takes out the crab and a trade there between the Thieves Guild Enforcer and the beast left behind from the Elder Gargaroth. Now, Polykranos number 2 in the bin, not going to help super much. Alrund's Epiphany is never going to resolve, but, at this point, you just kind of got to YOLO and hope.
Yep, I think so. You just got to play it. Hope for the best, but I mean, unless we have like exactly 1 card in Tóth's library, he's not dead
still okay,
right now.
Yeah. He's still okay.
We got plenty of outs from Hayne that I assume would be lethal here, but it's not over as it looks right now.
So we also got the Zagoth Trimia. We can cycle into something.
Ooh.
There's another crab. He's got 4 cards left.
Okay. So what that means is you can crab, play the land, and then drown something, and then what are you going to Emergent Ultimatum all your 0 cards in your library? So I think we've swiftly dealt with that card.
3 cards in the bin. Jakub Tóth needs to win right now.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything that can do it because even in Alrund's Epiphany, you just have to draw another card. So
yep,
that'll be all she wrote.
That's gonna do it. Even with all those 20 extra cards in the Yorion deck, still not able to overcome the mill deck here in the hands of Alexander Hayne. I love it. Cultivate for good measure.
Yes.
Here,
just in case. Put that Yorion in your hand.
Yeah, this is what I had.
Now, just a masterclass from Alexander Hayne. Knows his deck in and out. He has played this, multiple weekends in a row, and just played it well.